my Cabinet Council of Ministers colleague, Pankaj Chaudhary ji, Secretary, Department of Financial Services, Exim Bank's Chief, officials of the Exim Bank, recipients of the award, invited guests, and also the media. It's such a rare occasion when export performance of the country is looking up. In fact, it's doing well. And at the same time, institutions like Exim Bank identify those who have done very well, rising from not such a position of strength, and giving them that due recognition. All this doesn't happen the same day, but today we have that very fortuitous occasion, and I'm happy to be part of it. So I'm very pleased to address this conclave which is being held by Exim Bank. In fact, I was checking even as I was seated on the dais with the Secretary DFS and also with the Chief of Exim Bank that I do remember attending one such a program on Ubarte Sitare, but that was some time ago, and in between I have not heard of programs being held to encourage those who are being identified under the Ubarte Sitare scheme. That was specifically recollected as in 2021, and that was in Lucknow. The UP government had taken a lot of steps and given much encouragement for those who were rising from district level to become stars of exports. So today I'm happy to be part of it after a gap of 4 years. I think it is a very important step in order to encourage exports. Since the last time I attended till today, challenges have only increased. They've not come down, nor is the export world getting more and more facilitated. Within India, yes, but outside, you find the challenges are going up. And therefore, every encouragement given for those small and medium units which are coming up in the export area will be of immense importance and significance. So I appreciate the Exim Bank for taking up this step and keeping this particular event happening in Delhi itself. But also this particular program, Trade Assistance Program, the TAP, again started in 2022. It's a first of kind trade facilitation initiative, and a very important one, I think, because it looks at export financing gaps and particularly for high risk markets. These are very tailor-made steps which are absolutely important for exporters to face all the not so friendly challenges and the unpredictable situations which develop as they are on the business. So I think one thing which my colleague, the MOS mentioned, I'd like to repeat it. Exim Bank has partnered with more than 100 overseas banks, facilitating more than 1,100 export transactions across 51 countries, and therefore plays a very critical role in supporting exports from this country, and also the periodic publications they come up with in select topics are of great value. The ones which got released today address the contemporary important issues such as critical minerals, securing critical minerals, also looking at defense equipment industry when we are looking at defense Atmanirbharta, and the labor intensive textile sector, looking at the ASEAN region particularly, because with our Look East and Act East policy, we've been giving a lot of importance for trading with the Southeast Asian nations. The trade agreement is, of course, in the process of getting reviewed, but it is an important region from where emerging markets have been in global trade, and the value chain analysis, particularly because for textiles, it's an important study, I would think, because it'll throw a lot of light on where we need to boost our support systems. It's widely reported in the newspapers. Every now and then we hear about it. In the last few years, global growth in trade have all suffered. That is why you have periodically the WTO, the World Bank, and the IMF reviewing every half year and telling us as to how the progress is. It's not seen an uptick by their estimates. Even this year, there's a 20 basis point drop in the OECD estimates, the World Bank estimates. World Bank, of course, has come down with 40 bips coming down, and the WTO. So it doesn't seem as if the world is in a mood to go along with exports. Despite that, I appreciate the Indian exporters putting that kind of an effort, that they are still growing and are finding real success. And therefore, this particular occasion, I take this opportunity to congratulate all those exporters who've received the awards, but for those several who have not received the awards, you're really swimming against the current and succeeding in it. So all support from Government of India is all that I can assure you, because we need to give you that support given the uncertainties which are prevailing. Uncertainties, I thought in 2020 was because of COVID, and in 21 we thought it was because of 21 and 22 we thought it was because of the war, Ukraine-Russia, and then it was also because of the war in Gaza. It was later on the tariff war. Every year we've had one or the other serious challenge to the global trade, and particularly at that time for India's exporters to find, and three qualities stand out for the Indian exporters. One, of course, they're growing, and growing significantly. Two, they're not just growing as they were growing earlier. Today they are finding technology infused, high-end products which are getting exported, and that is why you had Pankaj Chaudhary ji identifying pharmaceuticals, IT-related service areas, and automobile and so on. High technology in infused areas where innovation and your IP will all come in handy. So India is not just bulk exporting raw goods or commodities, it is exporting today well-engineered products which are high standard. So that's the second feature I'd like to leave on the table here, which I'm sure many of you already do recognize. And the third is they are also finding newer markets. We know for the last few years, Europe has been suffering and their consumption has actually come down. And with recession-like situation in Europe, our exporters have been creative and imaginative enough to also reroute and find out newer markets. So Indian exports today can be distinctly featured with these three profile making or mapping of their export performance. And that is where I think survival instincts have shown them that against all the odds that they can perform. From the side of the government, I just want to highlight 5 major steps that we have consciously taken, which I think has helped in supporting the exporters. In general, in the ministry, we keep referring it to 5T exports, but I don't have anything about the T. There are 5, certainly. The first one is on transport and logistics upgradation. We have been enhancing logistics efficiency, developing logistics hubs, and also investments in infrastructure have helped in the logistics ratio coming down in favor of the exporters. I'm not getting into detail, but this actually improves supply chain efficiencies, and therefore that would, I think, have a direct bearing on exports. If that's the first, the second, targeted support to MSME. It's been in the last 4 budgets, repeatedly, every year, one or the other steps at the minimum, or else there is a set of announcement made to help the MSMEs. I'll just highlight, and MSME, of course, you're seized of the fact that they are 45% of our exports are carried out by them. So the TREADS platform is one through which the discounting happens of trade receivables. And then change in the definition of MSMEs, launch of Udyam portal, revamp of credit guarantee schemes are all part of this. Ubarte Sitare is certainly one of them, driven by the Exim Bank. The numbers were given 1,522 crores, including 7 equity investments to 85 entities have happened till March 31st, 2025. Other than that, technical assistance has been extended to incubators. 3 IITs, the Bombay, Delhi and Kanpur are the 3. 2 IIMs, which is Ahmedabad and Lucknow, I think, and the 1 IISC in Bangalore. All of them, all 6 of them are doing the incubators function, and as a result, many of the startups are able to today see actual progress happening in their businesses. And this technical assistance being extended has actually made a lot of catalytic difference to the exporters. The third of the 5 that I'd like to draw your attention to is trade finance access. The international trade finance services platforms in Gift City have been doing very good facilitation work. And Exim Bank subsidiary, which is getting opened there, is also doing the export factoring work. For 587 open account transactions during the financial year 2025, all of them have been particularly beneficial to the MSMEs. For the fourth of the 5 things which I'd like to draw your attention to is the trade cluster development. A clustered approach for developing export hubs is being pursued through the schemes like Make in India, production-linked incentive schemes, one district, one product, and also district as an export hub. So the decades-old system of SCZs alone promote export. SCZs will have to be a specified, specialized export promotion zone, maybe where they are. But today, the new approach taken for the last 1 decade by this government has actually brought in this dimension that you don't have to be only in an SCZ to find your export, but you can do it from the district, and within that district, for that identified one product, every help in terms of providing a common production center or packaging center, skills being provided to them, or funds coming through the banks, or branding them, can all happen in the name of one district, one product. I remembered very distinctly in 2021, Uttar Pradesh making a very big splash on it, and it is sustaining that momentum. I use the word splash, but I am conscious that they are just not having done it 1 year, but UP's progression towards export of labor-intensive products, handicrafts products, have made a distinct progress and contributed to the GSTP of the state. So the model of export being driven only through SEZ may carry on, but you have this approach now for promoting one district, one product, which is now across the board, across the country. You find every state seeing the benefit of giving that advantage to small manufacturers. And district level export hubs are still finding their full form, but I know a lot of work is happening on that. The production linked incentive scheme, together with work which is going on, production linked incentive of course is already in the ground, but labor and employment linked incentive are all driving a lot of those MSMEs which have fantastic export capabilities. So that is the trade cluster development approach that we have taken. The PLI schemes have transformed India's export basket from traditional commodities to high value added products and witnessed exports surpassing, this is a number which is very important, PLI supported exports have surpassed 5.31 lakh crores, that is 62 billion US dollars. And what are the items which went through it? Large scale electronics manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, food processing, telecom and network products. So obviously not just any random collection of, there is a clear pattern for which the PLI was announced and it is bringing success. And the fifth of the five is trade agreements. Pankajji very clearly mentioned all of them, whether it is UAE, Australia, EFTA area, UK now, and with the US and the European Union. Negotiations are really intensely going on and should come to a conclusion sooner. So emphasis is being made for getting more free trade agreements signed. So if all this is on, I said already the feature of the Indian exports are also transitioning. India's total exports reached an all-time high of 825 billion US dollars and achieving 6% growth over the previous year and a significant leap of 466 billion US dollars over 2013-14. Then, if you look at it, I did mention, while the global exports grew only by 4%, India's exporters managed to fast track and cross 6.3%. Then, of course, the World Investment Report places India in a very improved position. FDI flows have been up and down. It had dropped about 11%, but FDI flows between 2014 and 24, nearly 668 billion US dollars, account for 67% of the total FDI reported in the last 24 years. In the last 24 years, it was 991 billion. So the third feature, of course, I did mention about the deepening participation in global value chains. And I think Apple's one classic example shows what level of value addition can happen within India. India's iPhone contract manufacturers have crossed 20% domestic value addition. So with these, I think I would add, and I would like to draw your attention, one last leg of my speech would be to see what has been consistently done during the budget, but peaking in 25-26, 1st February 2025, announcement in the budget, specifically towards export promotion. Export promotion mission was announced, Bharat Trade Net was announced, and Bharat Trade Net is, I think, one of the very good steps using digital technology. So digital public infrastructure, which provides a unified platform for trade documentation and financing solutions, is intended to complement the unified logistics interface platform. And then upgradation of warehousing and infrastructure for air cargo was also announced in this budget. Enhancement by 2.5 times and 2 times the investment and turnover limits for classification of MSME also in this budget. National framework for the GCC, the Global Capability Centers. Further support services-led growth in emerging Tier 2 cities, also in this budget. Also in this budget was the rationalization of customs tariff structure for industrial goods to remove 7 tariff rates for all of us, or those of us who still believe in the commentary which was made in the US that India may be the tariff king. No, I want two things to be remembered. Given our system of things, we seek parliamentary approval for deciding on the tariff rate. You obtain from the parliament the permission to go up to a certain level. But effectively, you are at a far lower level. Effective rate, tariff rate is at a far lower level. But what gets published in the Gazette would be that level for which you obtain permission from the parliament, and it is that level which appears everywhere, and people then tend to think, probably rightly, that's the rate at which we are imposing tariffs. So our procedures have given us that not so desirable picture of being very, very restrictive and regressive about tariff. Many of them were already far lower than the rate at which the Gazette notification came after the approval of the Parliament. But even after that, 7 tariff rates have been removed in this budget, reducing the total to just 8. So for those of us who still think there's something about the tariff story in India, I want this to be clear. There are only just 8, including the zero rate. So we have done a lot of reforms in reducing the burden on trade by cutting down on tariffs to support manufacturing and domestic value addition, promote exports, and to facilitate trade. And the last one in this particular budget was trade facilitation measures, including a time limit for provisional assessment in the Customs Act, which was one major step. And that will be of great relief for most of the import-export people. An extension of the time limit for end use of imported goods from 5 months to 1 year, so that operational flexibility can be appreciated. So you didn't have to rush all the production after having imported a particular component without duty, because it was going to get exported again. But now you have a larger time frame within which you can do the manufacturing of that component which has come in for you to export again. So there are a lot of things that we can talk. Private sector participation is also picking up. It can be even more faster. But I think for the sake of our exporters, we all need to continue to innovate and bring in more and more support for them. And I think what is more important is risk-sharing facilities. We need creative solutions. Hedging instruments, we need creative solutions, and also for advisory support. So I think you've been very patient hearing me. Thank you very much. But once again, I wish all those awards recipients and word of very big praise for Exim Bank for having taken this measure today. Thank you very much.